Let's see how we fill up the short-term capital gains on sale of equity shares or equity-oriented mutual fund which are taxable as per 111A. In order to identify whether the mutual fund you sold is an equity-oriented mutual fund or not, you can check the transaction statement. In case the securities transaction tax is charged, that is the STT is charged on the sale of mutual fund, then such mutual fund is an equity-oriented mutual fund. This is how you identify it. Further, in case you have short-term capital gains from sale of equity shares or equity-oriented mutual fund, but do not have a business income, then in such a case, you can file ITR-2. However, apart from the short-term capital gains on sale of these shares and mutual funds, you also have a business income, then you should file ITR-3. Now the profits in case of sale of equity shares or equity-oriented mutual funds will be calculated in two different parts. The first part being where the shares or the mutual funds have been sold before the 23rd of July 2024, and the second one is where it is sold on or after the 23rd of July 2024. The reason why we need to calculate it separately is because the tax rates have changed from the 23rd of July 2024. Since the tax rates have changed, the profits will be calculated and reported separately. Now, what are the details that are required? Let's see in this example of ours. The sales value of equity shares and equity-oriented mutual funds summed up together, and then the purchase price again summed up together, and then the transaction charges on contract notes. Please note the sales value and the purchase value of the shares and the mutual fund have been summed up together as because they will be reported the same way in the income tax return. In the similar way, we'll also calculate these values for the shares and mutual funds that have been sold on or after the 23rd of July 2024. Now, before we move on to the return filing utility, let me tell you this thing. In case the listed equity shares or the equity-oriented mutual fund are sold within 12 months from the date of its purchase, then the profits or loss arising from such sale would be treated as short-term capital gains. Now, let's move on to the income tax return filing offline utility. Once you pre-fill the data, you then arrive at this page. Select the appropriate option and then click on Continue. Here, you will have to select the schedules that are applicable to you. Click on Income and then select the Capital Gains schedule. And then scroll to the bottom and then click on Continue. Skip questions. Once you arrive at this page, you need to start filling up Part A of the General Information Schedule, which contains the personal information of the taxpayer, such as the name, address, contact details, bank account details, and one additional option to choose from the old tax regime or the new tax regime. Once you fill in Part A of the General Information Schedule, you then need to move to the Capital Gains Schedule. Click on this and then click on the short-term capital gains section, that is serial number A Roman 1. Click on this and then click on serial number 2. Click on add another. Click on 111A for others. And then start filling in the details here. Now once you fill in all the details, scroll to the bottom and make note of this figure somewhere, 2,99,100. Click on save. So this is the total short-term capital gain that was earned during the financial year 24-25, 2,99,100. Now scroll to the bottom and click on serial number F. Once you click on serial number F, now start filling serial number 1 and 2. Now the short-term capital gain of rupees 2,99,100 will have to be split in between serial number 1 and serial number 2 based on when it was earned. In case if it is sold before the 23rd of July, mention in serial number 1. In case if it is sold after the 23rd of July, mention it in serial number 2. Further, you need to split the gains based on when it was earned. In case if it was earned up to 15th of June, mention it here. In case in between 16th of June and 15th of September, mention it here. And in case later on, mention in these columns. Once you fill in this serial number 4, make sure that the amount arrived at serial number F here matches with the amount arrived at in serial number C3. That is 2,99,100. Now once these two figures match, click on confirm. So this is how you fill up the short-term capital gains on equity shares and equity-oriented mutual funds that are taxable as per 111A.